Hi everyone, my name is Vanessa Parra, and the grade level that I chose for this lesson is for third grade. The standard that we would be focusing on is to plan and conduct an investigation to provide evidence of the effects of balanced and unbalanced forces on the motion of an object. The student learning goal is students will investigate to identify the effects of balanced and unbalanced forces. Throughout the lesson, the vocabulary that we would be using is force, balanced force, unbalanced force, and motion. For academic language, we would use prediction, hypothesis, and analyze, identify, evidence, investigate, and conclusion. So in order to begin the lesson, I would provide a YouTube video, and that would be based on forces, motion, and gravity. Then we would have a class discussion and discuss what they learned throughout the video. And I would also ask them questions such as, what did you learn from a force? What is a force? A force is a push or a pull. And then I could ask them questions like, can you give me other ways of a push or a pull? So examples that I could provide to students to expand their learning, it could be when they're pushing a cart at the grocery store, that's a push. When they're pulling open a door, you're pulling. Another example could be when you're dragging something, that's also a push. When you're cutting the grass and you're mowing the lawn, that's also a push. So I could give examples like that to help demonstrate what a push or pull is, which is a force. So after our class discussion, then I would provide a PowerPoint, and that PowerPoint, I would present it and have our vocabulary that we would be focusing on in order to help students grasp a better understanding. And I can also include visuals just so they can have a better understanding of the vocabulary words and the concepts that we would be focusing on. So after our PowerPoint, I would then show or explain the students the activity on what they're going to be doing, and I would tell them, have a list of the steps of what they would be doing in the activity. So students would be working in groups of 2, and in this hands-on activity, they would be creating a hopper popper. So this hopper popper is a piece of cardboard that would jump in the air and that would be propelled by the pulling force of 2 rubber bands. So in order to create the hopper popper, materials that we would need is our pins, rulers, scissors, clipboard, rubber bands, and a launch pad. They would also be handed a high pop score card printout, which is a worksheet. And in this worksheet, they will be collecting data on their hopper popper, and they will be also answering questions at the bottom of the worksheet. So here they have 4 launches, so they have to do the experiment 4 times, and they're gonna write an X on if the first launch was below the shoulders, head high, or over the head. And this shows a little picture and to demonstrate. And then on the bottom, they would answer the 3 questions. And this would be throughout the activity. So in order to create this hopper popper, we would need our supplies, of course, which I cut it out already, but it would be our cardboard rectangle, scissors, ruler, our scorecard, and a launch pad, which is this paper here. So I already cut it out, but the cardboard rectangle, we would make a diagonal line, 2 diagonal lines across the board, then making an X. Then we would place our cardboard on the paper, and we would make 3 lines, 1 in the middle and then 2 on the sides. Then with those lines, it creates like a rectangle here, and we would cut those out. So on the sides, we would cut them out. Then we would try to fold the hopper popper in half, or the cardboard in half. We would have our, oh, that's right, part of our materials, the rubber band, we would place it like this, and that creates the hopper popper. Then we would do the investigation. So in order to launch the hopper popper, we would open it up, grab our ruler, and on 3, we would let it go. So 1, 2, 3, and it launches. So as students are conducting their investigation and doing their activity, I would be walking around and observing students, as well as asking them questions to build their level of thinking. So I could ask questions like, in order to flatten the hopper, what direction is the rubber band pulling? Also, what about the cardboard box? Is the cardboard box pushing or pulling? And the rubber band too, is it pushing or pulling? I could also ask them questions like, where is the balanced and unbalanced forces in the hopper popper? So the unbalanced force would be when it is let go and it is going high in the air. Balanced force it's when it's flat on the table. So once students have finished their activity and have cleaned up, then we would come all together as a class and have a class discussion on their findings in their investigation. So I would have the groups summarize their investigation using only 3 sentences. And then after all the groups have summarized, then I would elaborate on any confusion that I saw throughout the activity from the students. Once we have finished our class discussion, then I would have students participate in a short Kahoot assessment. And in this Kahoot, it would have questions about force, motion, gravity, and what they learned about today. So in order to assess students or assess student learning, I would, throughout the activity, I was observing, monitoring, peer discussion, asking them questions about forces. I could also use the worksheet, the scorecard here that they used, and collect data from it, as well as the Kahoot. The Kahoot would help me understand if students were able to grasp the concept of forces in motion. So in order to incorporate UDL, I, at the beginning, presented a YouTube video, and the YouTube video would have visuals as well as audio, obviously, and that would help students understand the concept in a simpler way. As well as the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint, I would make sure that the text is clearly written, easy to read, as well as visuals of forces and motion too. Then 2 of the total participation techniques that I would incorporate in the lesson would be the think, pair, share. So at the beginning, when we're doing a class discussion, I would ask students a question, then they would turn to a partner, they would discuss, and then we would share as a class. So that would be the think, pair, share. And then another one that I would use is the 3-sentence wrap-up at the end of the activity, when we all come together and they start discussing their findings. Each group would summarize their investigation using only 3 sentences. And that would allow all groups to participate only using 3 sentences, and it wouldn't be such a long process. And that would conclude my lesson on forces and motion. Thanks for watching. Bye.